May only the truth be spoken here and only the truth received in the name of God. Amen. As we find ourselves moving through this season of Advent, we're reminded by Father Boone Porter, an Anglican Church history and liturgic scholar, that Advent speaks first of Christ's future coming to judge the world at the end of history. Secondly, of his historic coming into our world 2,000 years ago. And thirdly, of his present coming into our hearts and lives. Future, past, present. In our parish life, we use the same pattern of rehearsing what we want our future to be by first reflecting on our past and reminding ourselves of our present. It's not an unfamiliar practice to us. Likewise, we consider these same three classic questions when we prepare to clarify the hopes and dreams in our next chapter of a parish's ministry and the work that we will do together with a new rector. Where have you been? Where are you now? And where do you want to be in 5 or 10 or 15 years? These are critical questions. Even more so are the answers. This is the formula, not only the framework by which we understand our parish, it's for us at the heart of our journey of faith in Christ. In the Eucharistic prayer, we rehearse the same sequence when we say, Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again. Past, present, future. We remember our past, our story, our roots. It's a biblical tradition. The Hebrew text is filled with reminders of how our ancestors in the faith did the same thing. Our witness to God's purpose in our parish is the same. Retelling our own stories of who we are, where we came from, and when we personally joined the community. All is very important. It's a way of putting ourselves back together. To answer where we are now is a way to locate ourselves in a particular moment in time. Looking around ourselves, taking stock, considering what we value and what we can let go of to begin a new thing. Where we are going is the big question that many parishes struggle to answer with clarity. Identifying the clear vision and purpose. Where do we want to go? What do we need to get there? And what gifts do we need in our priests to help us get there? Big, big questions. Everyone thinks, it doesn't always say it aloud, and it needs to be said aloud, but everyone wants to grow. We all want more people participating in the enterprise of the gospel in which we are involved. So other questions follow. How do we want to create a generous and welcoming and hospitable place? What does a generous and welcome look like? How do we create a venue that is functional and appropriate to the need while at the same time communicating the good news? How do we identify the gifts and abilities and capacity we have to respond to express needs for children, for elders, for those at the door, whether it's for Christian formation or pastoral care or food and shelter? What do we do first? What are the priorities when we may not be able to do it all right away? These questions will lead you on this very active journey you are a part of in this place. How did you get to this moment in time is something that I'm supposed to be reminding you of right after the homily, so I thought I'd just jump to the chase. Archdeacon Grant Rogers, your former rector, resigned to take on a new role at Vancouver School of Theology, and after consultation, the Archbishop appointed the Reverend Stephanie Shepherd to be your interim priest and guide you through a period of reflection and discernment. She's here, so I think she must have done that. And then you wrote a profile, advertised, and got some amazing priests who, together with you, discerned whether they were being called by God to be your next rector. your profile had a list of who we seek. And if you don't remember the list, the key characteristics are these. 1, not to be afraid to ask tough questions. If any of these don't sound familiar, put up your hand. 2, willing to guide in study, justice, and faith. Comfortably challenging the status quo. Connected with the wider diocese. Energetic, persistent, lead and collaborate. And experience with capital fundraising. You held the list up against the Reverend Vivian Lam and said, yes, this is an amazing match. You discerned that Mother Vivian had what you wanted. You recommended to the Archbishop that she be appointed, and the Archbishop agreed. So here we are. I've known Vivian and worked with her on several projects for over 16 years. 16 years. I know I don't look old enough to have known her that long, but it's true. And I can attest to you that you have chosen a priest who prays, who has an unwavering faith, and a fearless tenacity. Vivian is a true shepherd, seeking out the least, the last, and the lost, caring tenderly for those committed to her care. She is one who listens with intention, calls out the best in others, and prods and probes to get to the core of an idea, or a problem, or a possibility. Vivian is one who will insist on collaboration, on partnership, and on the entire community's engagement. So just one warning. Vivian does not suffer wallflowers gladly. She will ask you tough questions, and remember, when she does, you ask for a priest who will do so. Expect to be challenged. Remember, you asked for a priest to challenge you. She will be persistent. Remember, you asked her to be persistent. Expect to be called forth to offer the gifts you have been given. And know this, in doing this work together, the Christ on whom we wait will be made present in this place. In your parish profile, your mission statement reads, the parish of St. John the Apostle is called to be a spirited community at the heart of Port Moody, transformed through the experience of the presence of Christ and sent out to share God's love. I noticed in your parish profile that the word transformation is connected with worship, Bible study, godly play, and education for ministry. So I wonder if transformation is not the key word which underlies the vision that St. John's has for itself. We are told that the mission is an action which allows us to achieve our vision. So I imagine that at its best, St. John's vision is bringing about the new community that Isaiah imagines in today's reading. A place where those from the margins are brought to the center, those who have been disenfranchised are returned to the rightful place, and those who are lost are found again and filled with value and dignity. Vivian will be alongside you in this work. Through Isaiah's prophecy we hear, a voice cries out, in the wilderness prepare the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God, with valleys lifted up, mountains and hills made low, uneven ground leveled, and rough places made plain. What do we need to do to make this happen? Get up to a high mountain, lift up your voice with strength, tell out the good news even from the mountaintop. Here is your God. The psalm tells us that the whole of creation is participating in God's glory. The heavens, the earth, the sea, all the trees of the wood shout for joy before the Lord when God comes to judge the earth. Then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all the people shall see it together. The glory of the Lord. What does that look like? Isaiah tells us that it looks like this: God will feed his flock like a shepherd. I don't need to remind you that the image of shepherd and sheep figures significantly in our faith story. And certainly any of you have had the opportunity to travel to the land from where our biblical stories originate will know that shepherds and sheep are still core elements to the agrarian culture in the Holy Land. Abraham and Moses and David and Amos, to name a few, are all shepherds at one point in time or another in their careers. And early in St. Luke's Gospel, we meet shepherds who are among the first to hear the good news of the birth of Jesus. Scholars tell us that shepherds were kept to the boundaries of the community, understood to be unclean and therefore marginalized. They made their homes outside, living near the animals they cared for. Isaiah says that God will feed his flock like a shepherd. God will gather his lambs in his arm and carry them in his bosom and gently lead the mother sheep. And today's gospel portrays the one who is interested in the least and the last and the lost, the one who is marginalized, the one who is missing, the one who is overlooked or disregarded. Whether the person be a child or an elder or someone in between, all are equally precious to the shepherd, no matter how large the flock. In preparation for tonight, as a parish, you recalled where you came from, who you are, and by God's grace, to be transformed into bearers of God's good news in this place. You discerned that you need a priest like Vivian who will challenge and lead and persist and collaborate. You are so blessed to have Vivian as your rector. Together as a priest and people, God is giving you the ability to be a witness to a place that communicates God's generous love, unlimited welcome, gracious hospitality that is easily accessible to all. Lift up your voice, St. John the Apostle, herald of good tidings. Lift up your voice with strength and say, "Here is your God." What has gone before is not lost, but neither is it where you are now. That good news that you have been proclaiming for generations is bringing you to life again, and the promise of great and wonderful things beyond your imagining are waiting to be discovered.